Hey, Roma.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Alex, and thank you for having me. This is my first event, and boy, do you guys talk fast. I love it. I'm usually the one getting told to slow down, so this is amazing. Can I just keep skipping through the slides? Is that okay? So as Alex mentioned, my role at the CBC is to manage the CBC Gem platform, and at the end of the day, CBC is the public broadcaster, right? I mean, that's our job, is to get the Canadian content out to the Canadians by virtue of just being in the country. You should have access to it. But as Alex mentioned, the world is changing, right? Not only are the media dollars moving around, but the consumption is moving not less, but elsewhere. And so from a broadcaster standpoint, the question that everyone's asking is, what do you do? How do you make it work? Question for me, how do I make this work? Look how that worked out. I'll boop it, no problem. So it's a bunch of marketers, so I have to do the thing.
Talking about ways we can elevate. Stepping up, staring, we escalate. Don't try to separate, we'll get together and celebrate. I can do everything, I just don't hesitate. I can do anything. Get it, got it, good. You got me. I know that you got me, good. Get it, got it, good.
That is CBC Gem. Too many. There we go. Okay, so CBC Gem is, as I mentioned, it's our OTT service, and for the one person in the audience that may not know what that is, that's any kind of content delivered over the top. So we have live streamed content, we have video that's on demand, and basically that brings the library of fabulous CBC content as well as a massively growing catalog of titles, feature films, shows to Canadian audiences. We are spread across a number of different platforms. We're definitely growing in the connected TV space, and that's really, really important to us because at the end of the day, again, as Alex said, people aren't watching less. It's watching TV. It's just watching it on different screens. Great thing is I don't have to explain it to this crew, but you get it. So we're available on as many devices as we can get our hands on. And we bring 4,000 plus hours of content on demand. 14 of our lives are CBC over-the-air television. That's actually now streamed through Gem as well. Again, completely available for free because that is the mandate. And we include dynamic ad insertion as well, so that's targetable. It's good. 12.5 million streams per quarter. So that really just is a function of a growing service. People are coming more and more, and they're consuming more and more content. And a big differentiator for us is the live content. Not a lot of OTT services, more so now than there used to be, but bring live content directly to your phone, to your laptop, to wherever it is that you want to consume it. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it this way, the way OTT consumption plays out is that you will privilege the nearest, most convenient screen. When you want to watch TV, typically you will privilege the most convenient screen. Now, when you're at home, that's your TV. When second you leave that room, that value transfers over to your pocket, or it transfers to your laptop, or whatever else it is that you want to watch. And so that's where we are definitely trying to be. And we've been growing really, really fast. So depending on the time of year and depending on the season, we rank within the top five services in Canada. We are also part of the CBC digital ecosystem. Gem doesn't exist on its own. It's actually part of a massive, massive digital ecosystem where we reach about 72 to 75% of the Canadian digital audiences every single month across a whole breadth of content. And we also skew a lot younger than one would expect, especially in broadcast. So we reach about 60% of Canadian millennials, and our big growth area is actually kids starting right from preschool and moving into the Gen Z category. And as I mentioned, OTT is watching TV, right? So at the end of the day, our job as people who are not only massive, we bring a lot of content because we produce, we commission, that type of thing. We have to follow the people where they're going. That is part of the CBC's job. And the flip side of the slides that Alex showed earlier is that the growth is really coming from here. The penetration is going through the roof, both in English and French Canada. And And that's really where we need to be. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we actually got, how it is that we do what we do, because it ties in with how we work is very closely related to why it works. So we have we call a hybrid AVOD SVOD model. And hands up, anyone who doesn't know what AVOD or SVOD is? All right, so advertising video on demand, so that's like YouTube is an example of an AVOD service. You watch ads, you consume the thing, that's how you pay, right? And then SVOD is you pay up front, and then so you get Spotify has an SVOD layer. So what we have is actually a combination, and this really is important to us because, again, of CBC. So CBC's job is to get the content to anybody that is physically in Canada, right? That's our job. So we have, we call it's a luxury and a privilege in a lot of ways because no matter what we do, we get to put that first, right? We wanted to be, this was really important to the team as well. So the way we've set this up is the fundamental guiding principle is if I can't sit down in front of you and explain the value of that transaction, what do you get and what are we asking you for face to face, I'm not going to do it from behind a screen. And that was a really, really fundamentally important thing to us from a transparency standpoint because I don't want to ask up front and then make you pay in some fashion and then you see what you see and you get what you get. So this was a very different way of approaching it, especially back when we launched it. And at the end of the day, we work for audiences, right? And our audiences, our customers, we work for them. They are my boss, and therefore our job is to serve them as closely as we possibly can. I'm not going to talk through all of this, but what this really led to was we call this tiered model. And it's publicly available, go check it out on gem.cbc.ca. But what basically happens is we said all you have to do is show up. Show up and hit play, or download the app and hit play, and you'll be able to watch all the kids' content ad-free, because we don't advertise to children, or we don't allow for that. You get the Ottawa Live channel, because again, as a Canadian, you need to know. This is news, there's content, there's all types of stuff, and you can see all the current seasons. You will consume ads. For the price of a membership, which is the same as a CBC membership to comment, for example, you then get access to all the back catalog, again, ad-supported, so you haven't paid anything. Right? And you get a whole bunch of other stuff, including all of your other regional channels, so like your St. John's, Fredericton, that type of thing. And the feature, SVOD is a feature for us, and that's a key differentiator. So if you pay for the ads to go away on the video on demand. And you pay for one additional streaming channel, which is our live, which is our premium news service. And so at the end of the day, our job is to find that balance between what we need to do to serve the audiences and what we need to do to actually run this service in a way that actually makes sense in this world. I'm going to take one more second. I'm sorry. And I'm going to talk about this, again, big, busy slide, lots of colors. I like it this way. But at the end of the day, the other reason why it works is that you can't run this like you do a television channel or a website. It looks and smells like a lot of these things, but it's a service. And so the way we run it and the way we work with our partners both in and out of the building, including advertisers and marketers, is that you get the whole package. We're sitting here, every team that is involved in this, and you can see along the top, is actually sitting there and thinking about these things all the time. We're thinking about video consumption and engagement. It's not a handoff. It can't work like that in a service. In a hotel, you wouldn't expect that. In a bank, you wouldn't expect that. In an OTT service, no one expects that either. And so we work across the board to really think about what decisioning looks like, what makes sense, how do we make it work. Personalization and customization, what do you want to experience? Because the freedom we have in a space like OTT is so different from that of a television channel or anything else, because it's not just about the content, that's why you're there, but it's also the experience around the content. And all of that dictates if and for how long you come back. Right? And then the last piece really here, and this is a brand new discipline, definitely for us, but I think across the board in terms of services like this, is this concept of customer lifecycle management. You guys have probably been working, some of you already work on this in other contexts and definitely for your clients. But we are trying to in-house this as a discipline and a practice because again, going back to that customer first approach, if we're not putting them first every step of the way in that journey before, we're not doing part of our job. And that's really our goal is can we make this work so that in that crazy, that's it, Risalba, you're welcome. That's just for you guys. In the crazy world of how many, the services that exist, there's 10 to 12, Disney's about to come in, there's so many competitors in a massively expensive market, Our job as the CBC is to sit there and go, what is good for Canadians and what can we bring to them in the most efficient, careful, considered, transparent possible way.
Great. That's amazing. Thank you very much. So let's take some questions for Roma. Questions? Sure.
Out of your membership, how much are they paid percentage-wise, and what is the actual number of members so far?
There we go. Hi. It's a really good question. So the paid layer, which again is a feature within the service, that's it's $4.99 a month. That's it. And first month free, and so you pay for the the rest of the time. And we don't share member numbers publicly, but talk to me after, and I can.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. I was just at Banff at the Banff Media Conference, and we sat with the 10 kind of Canadian competitors in the OTT space, and the prices range from $5 to $30. And I guess the question is, how long are they going to continue to keep paying? And so I think with the CBC, I love the fact that it's only $5 because it's accessible, and hopefully your numbers soar.
And at the end of the day, our job was to say, if you can't or don't want to reach into your wallet, there are so many other options for you. So the content isn't paywalled.
Was it difficult convincing management about the launch of a service because you already share content and revenue with the television channel? Like, what did you tell your boss?
So actually, no, it came from leadership, which is actually, again, a massive luxury. So the way it worked out was, this was an evolution over so many years. And a lot of services you'd see that way, right? Like, it starts off as catch-up players all over your various websites, then it ported over into one place, and then it was converting that from just the one place where everything was just housed into creating a service. So it's been an evolution, and definitely driven and hugely prioritized by leadership. So we're very lucky that way.
Hi. I just had a question. If research that we're hearing right now is that OTT services consumers are only able to consume, say, 2.5 services, as a household, and then you've got Netflix, and you've got Disney Plus, and you've got Warner Media, and you've got Hulu, and some of these other services that are AVOD and SVOD. What is CBC's strategy to be part of consumers' mix?
So, that question, and it's a really great question because I've seen the 2.5, I've seen 2.75, I've seen 3, so there's a lot of that back and forth, and that's on the paid side. So that's usually not including the free services that come on top of that. It's the fundamental question everybody faces, right? In a crowded marketplace, how do you differentiate? And that's our job. So some of the differentiators that we've gone to market with in the first year and continue to build on, first of all, is live. The fact that you can consume, you don't have to pay to access the content. CBC has a wealth of content, and we actually produce and commission a lot of our own. So we have a lot more flexibility with rights than some other services can sometimes have, especially Canadian ones. Because we work so closely with our producers. We've got a massive creator network. So our job, and we're in the communities. We are physically in so many communities by virtue of having regional presence across the country, right, coast to coast to coast. And so, in a crowd marketplace like that, we're looking for, and we are continuing to evolve what those key differentiators are. What value do we bring that is actually a differentiable, defensible value to consumers? And again, at the end of the day, our priorities are quite different from me if I was standing here from a private sector standpoint.
For sure. So listen, thank you very much. That was amazing. Really appreciate you coming.